Hi, Paul from Paul's Passing Thoughts. We're going to make a comparison today between Calvinism and communism. And let's begin with the well-used New Calvinist illustration. This is their publication of the cross chart. The cross chart. And this depicts their construct of individual change, and as we learned a couple of days ago, also their construct for social change in changing society. And it focuses on a growing awareness of how sinful and totally depraved we are, and as opposed to a growing awareness of God's holiness. And you see here, as we continually point out, that it's not people that change, but it's the gospel that changes. In the individual, that would be a growing awareness, right? They aren't changing for the better. It's just merely the cross depicts a growing awareness, which overall creates societal change. Okay, the cross can't get, if we get better, if we improve as people, it makes the cross smaller. And that is depicted clearly in another one of their publications, The Shrinking Cross. Okay, when our awareness of how totally depraved we are decreases, it makes the cross smaller. Now, let's look at this in regard to, let me see here. Let's look at this in regard to good old-fashioned communism or socialism. All right? Pretty much the same thing. Man is incompetent, and the more man realizes that he is incompetent, the more he will trust the enlightened authorities, and this yields this wonderful societal fruit. All right, and this is necessary for the collective good. All right, and because they're all for the collective good, conversion to this realization is always by education, but if education doesn't do its complete work, force. And the reason we have to use force is because that's what's best for the collective good and society as a whole. Plato's just society, if you will. Well, okay, how does this work in the individual? Let's look at this, whether it's got a Christian label or a communist label. Let's see how this works in the individual person, all right? Here is man, totally depraved man, as illustrated by this dead head here. All right, so basically, objective good ideas, or the gospel, when you put this into the empty mind of men, this will result in good societal fruit. Man, whether it's communism or Calvinism, man in and of himself is not capable of producing any good societal fruit. All right? Remember what Barack Obama said as far as entrepreneurs who build companies? You didn't build that, right? So it's the same thing. Pastors who stand up and say, we didn't do it, the Holy Spirit did it. Same thing, okay? Contrary to that, other ideas are ideas from one's subjective cranium or view of reality. Man's view of reality, he can't know reality, so it's in his mind, it's always subjective. Just leads to subjective chaos. Only the government or the gospel or elders who teach the gospel can know objective truth and can tell people what to think. And if people listen to what they think, we'll get good societal fruit. All right. So, other ideas other than that that come from the enlightened, or other ideas that come from the subjective view of man who cannot know reality, ends up with bad societal fruit. And in both cases, we're talking about the incompetent subjective brain of the totally depraved. All right. Now, this is an illustration made by a reformed think tank, the Australian Forum. This is out of their publication, Present Truth, Volume 21, which is actually the think tank that launched the present-day Calvinist resurgence, or otherwise known as New Calvinism. Even though a lot of new Calvinists and Calvinists in general want to separate themselves from the Australian Forum, fact is, the core four of the Australian Forum, at least one, Graham Goldsworthy, is still a major player in the New Calvinist movement today. Was invited to do a series of lectures at Southern Seminary in 2008, 2009, and Graham Goldsworthy, who wrote articles for Present Truth, is presently really known as the one who carried the torch of carried the torch forward of the redemptive or historical redemptive hermeneutic from Gerhardus Voss. All right. So you see here, man is totally depraved and incompetent, and if he thinks he can know anything, it leads to all this bad subjective stuff, really the root of all evil. When he thinks he can know something about Christ or know anything at all. If you're a communist, it's ideas. If you're a Christian, it's man thinking that he can know anything about Christ or that even Christ works in him. Over here, we have Christ without, or all truth, all objective truth being outside of man. In the Christian realm, this is what man knows about grace, justification, perfection, security, and morality, and what he knows about law. For the communist, it's simply ideas. Okay? Now, over here, if man thinks he can know anything, it just leads to subjective chaos. Subjective chaos. See this down here? They call it evangelical subjectivism. All right. This is otherwise known as the centrality of the objective gospel completely outside of us. Kind of the same deal. All right. Now, what do we want to look at next? Let me see here. In both cases, oops, not that one. Let's go to this one. All right. I made use of a chart that we've looked at before. Calvinists believe that contemplating on that bottom trajectory of the cross chart, by contemplating that, the fruits are produced strictly by what he believes. All right, I guess to the communist, that means filling people's empty subjective brain with the right ideas, yielding the right results. In a lot of Calvinist realms, the fruit, the societal fruit, and the fruit in the people's life is strictly a manifestation from God in response to believing the right things. There's a lot of different metaphysical constructs there, but the major premise is the same. Whether Calvinism or communism, the individual is completely separated from the fruit. Okay? Man's own ideas, cannot produce good societal fruit or good fruit in him. Okay? So in both cases, man's ideas or man's activity is completely separated from the fruit, at least as far as merit or getting credit for it. Okay? So we go over here. Justification is the gospel or good ideas from government philosopher kings. Gospel is the objective truth from the elders. So you have this elitist few that are the only ones capable of understanding objective truth. The good societal fruit cannot result from the individual's subjective brain, people having their own ideas and thinking their own ideas are good ideas is, in the mind of a communist or a Calvinist, is like giving a child a loaded gun. Okay? So over here you have good societal fruit, or Plato's just society, is in Christian realms is sanctification, whether in the individual or in society. All right, and let's end up with this last chart. That's the Christian view of redemptive history. This is where eschatology, or the study of last things, is not a secondary proof. It's very, very important, because as man cooperates with government and the church hierarchy in cooperating in this collective psyche, God then transforms society and people and creation, i.e., all things, until the kingdom is naturally ushered in by full restoration. This is the premise of all millennialism and reconstructionist eschatology that is very prevalent in Reformed circles. I hope this is helpful to you, and have a wonderful God-honoring day.